Welcome at home with Stacy and Courage, where you will find me busy creating clean products, preserving, planning delicious, nutritious meals for my friends and family. First, start off by soaking your raisins and creating a pre-ferment overnight or 24 hours before. Now, if you don't have sourdough culture, which I use, you can also use a pinch of yeast to create the perfect pre-ferment. And this is 24 hours later. Do you see how good this looks? It smells even better. Once your raisin is nice and plump, you want to give that a good strain. Put it in a little container to drain off all of the excess water because you don't want any water. Now, we are not going to be using this raisin liquid, so you can discard of this or you can do whatever you want to do with it. Now that that is out of the way, let us work on our dry ingredients. And I am using bread flour. I have inserted the recipe throughout the video, so you can go back and get the exact recipe, even though I am using a scale. I went ahead and I add my sugar as well as my salt for taste. And of course, I added some instant yeast. Once I'm finished adding all of my dry ingredients, I want to give this a good whisk to make sure everything is fully incorporated and to make sure that it's nice and fluffy. Because I'm using my KitchenAid, I went ahead and transferred my dry ingredients to my mixing bowl. And now I want to mix my wet ingredients. So I am taking some warm milk, very important, and I am taking that pre-ferment and I'm going to mix that into my warm milk. Now you could use room temperature milk, but I would advise warm milk. Add some vanilla essence or vanilla extract and give that another good mix. Add 2 eggs. Now you can feel free to beat your eggs before, but the machine is definitely going to do the beating for me. Now you want to add your wet ingredients to your dry ingredients and give that a good mix. Now, if you're using your hands to knead, this is the step where you will start kneading, but I am lazy. I am not kneading. Kneading is not my favorite thing to do. I allow the KitchenAid with the dough hook to do the work for me. I am sorry. I am sorry. I am sorry. Knead this until it is nice and shiny and it looks good for about 10 minutes, I would say. If you're doing by hand, maybe 15 minutes. And now we want to add room temperature cube butter one at a time. You want this butter to fully incorporate into the dough. My butter was a little bit on the firmer side. It probably could have thawed for about 1 more hour, but it worked nonetheless. I did need to take my spatula to kind of help it along. But remember, key tip to use room temperature butter and make sure that you cube that butter. Now that our dough is pulling away from the mixing bowl, we want to go ahead and add our nicely soaked plump raisin and give this a good mix. Now, I did have to remove my dough hook and I added my paddle hook because the dough hook was not incorporating the raisin properly. So here I am adding the paddle hook and this did a much better job. Of course, I could have used my hand, but So here I am mixing that really well. And of course, as you can see, everything is well incorporated. It is soft, it is elastic, and it is doing its thing. So now I'm going to transfer my dough to a bowl, a grease bowl, and I will allow this dough to rise for an hour and a half. You can do an hour if you want. I choose an hour and a half. It all depends on the temperature in the home, if outside is hot, if outside is cold. So you can play with the temperature and you can work with 1 hour or an hour and a half. It's not going to affect the dough drastically. Give the dough a good knead before you cover with saran wrap just to form a ball. And of course, I hope you're enjoying this video. Do remember to subscribe, thumbs up, and let's continue with the video. Now that we have that out of the way, let us work on our filling. We are using sugar, flour, and cinnamon. And you see the color of this cinnamon. This is freshly ground cinnamon. Of course, give that a good whisk. I added some ginger just to add a little and it adds such a wonderful depth of flavor. 1.5 hours later, and this is what we have. Our dough has doubled in size. And my home was quite warm on this day, so I believe we overproof a bit, but nonetheless, it came out perfectly. I went ahead and I greased my two loaf pans because I don't want anything sticking to mess up my masterpiece. Once that was done, I lightly floured my work surface and I took my bench scraper and I removed my dough from the pan. I am going to cut this dough in two, and as you will see, I cut this dough and I was off by I believe 1 gram. This is what you call perfection. I was off by a gram. Let's measure and I'll show you. So this is 841. That's one loaf. And the second loaf will be, let's see how much is the second loaf. 840. Your girl was on point. Again, add a little bit more flour, not too much. You don't want to turn it into a hard loaf, and you just want to push this off. Keep adding a little flour, not too much, because this is a very sticky dough. And now we are going to shape our dough. We are making a circle and we are just pushing with our fingers. Now you can use a rolling pin, but I find fingers with this soft dough works perfect. And now it's time to add that filling. So add your filling all around. Have fun with this. Add it however you want to add it. This is your loaf. You can do whatever you want to do with this. You are the one who's going to be enjoying this. So add your filling wherever you like, wherever you feel, wherever you want. And add as much as you like, as much as you feel, and as much as you want. And now we're just going to roll this up. Just keep rolling. It will look a little bit obzucky. It would look a little bit oblong, but don't worry, we will push this together. So keep rolling this dough, and what you want to do is pinch the ends. That way everything stays nice and tight. And once you pinch the end, just keep pushing it together, push it in, and lift it up and put it in your pan. It is that simple. Now let this rest for about an hour and a half in a little corner, and we have our loaf that has been doubled in size. Now you can go ahead and brush this with some eggs and all of that. I don't brush anything with eggs. I like my stuff rustic. I like it to look homemade, home baked, but taste delicious. I just sprinkle some of the extra filling on top of there. I put it in a corner, I let it rest. But I want you to remember you have to start warming your oven 30 minutes before you are ready to bake. And you see, we are baking this on 350 degrees, anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. And this is what you're going to have. Once that is finished baking, let it cool for 1 hour. It is important to let baked goods cool. Let it cool. And as you can see, it not only looks delicious, it tastes delicious. I put these in some freezer bag and I add them to my fridge because my children will eat a whole loaf within 10 minutes. That's how much they love this thing. The key takeaway from this video, guys, I want you all to have fun. Always when you're baking, have fun. Stay close to your measurement as you can. And don't fuss. Put a timer to control your timer and you will be fine. So I will see you in the kitchen in a bit. Talk to you later. Bye.